Hey guys, how you all doing? BionicleSaurus here, and in this video we are going to be taking a look at the new for 2017 Safari Limited Microraptor. While this figure looked beautiful from the start, it of course was very much outweighed by the other figures that came out alongside it. But I have to say that this figure really is better in person, and it just impresses me to no end in person. I think the main reason that I initially wasn't as excited about it was because it seemed very similar to their Archaeopteryx that they released in 2015. And it actually has one key difference, and that is that this figure is actually substantially larger than the Archaeopteryx, and that's just really cool to see because they can put in more detail, and I'd say they definitely did, at least in the sculpt, not so much in the paint, and we'll get to that later. But when it comes to the sculpt, I mean, this oh my god, this is just a beautiful figure, and you can just see next to my hand, I mean, this is a very large figure, and there's a lot of room for wonderful bird-like feather sculpting, and it's gorgeous. This whole thing is gorgeous. I love the way the little tips of the wings kind of curve up a little bit. Mine's tail is, I don't know if it's bent or if it's supposed to be curved like that. I'm pretty sure mine's bent, but I don't really care. It doesn't really look that bad, and it actually works out for where he goes on the shelf. Now, the coloration is, of course, one of the great parts of this figure because we actually have some pretty substantial evidence that this is the in-life coloration or pigmentation of this animal. Always amazing to see any sort of pigment preservation for any dinosaur, of course. Kind of similar story to the Psittacosaurus that Safari Limited also released this year. And it's amazing to know that I'm looking at a figure that, you know, it represents this animal very accurately when it comes to the anatomy, but it also really accurately represents it when it comes to just, like, the visual style and the soft tissue stuff. And that's so cool and just kind of tantalizing. I want to actually cover detail last in this video because it's kind of the coolest part of this figure, so we are just going to get size comparisons over and done with right now. As always, we have the Allosaurus. Here it is with the Safari Limited Utyrannus, and finally let's bring in the Safari Limited Archaeopteryx. Now see, this is what I was talking about earlier. I was really expecting the Microraptor to just sort of be part 2 of this figure, but it's not. It's a great deal larger and a great deal more just beautiful and wonderful and magnificent. I mean, when it comes to just the size and the sculpt and everything they were able to include and do on the Microraptor, it's just a completely amped up version on all levels compared to the little Archaeopteryx. That is, except for one little thing, and that is the paint job. I have to say, I'm not very impressed with the Microraptor's paint. It's all just a matte black finish for this particular model, and it just doesn't look nearly as good as this glossy, iridescent black on the Archaeopteryx. I mean, that's almost like blue and purple. You can see it just shimmering in my lights, and these aren't even like UV lights. This is not sunlight. These are just bright white bulbs, standard bright white bulbs, and it still is just shimmering with color and just, oh, it's lovely looking. And by comparison, the Microraptor is just dull, unfortunately. And now let's move on to the biggest pro of this figure, and that is the amazing sculpted detail. Just look at the feather sculpting on this model. I mean, oh my gosh, look at that wing. That is gorgeous. That is absolutely spectacular. That is masterfully done. It's just insane to look at. Look at the little tail, very well done as well, and of course the signature leg wings of Microraptor, a very important iconic feature of this particular genus. So in conclusion, I give this figure an A-. It is beautifully sculpted. Do not get me wrong there. When it comes to the underlying sculpt of this particular Safari Limited dinosaur, there is not a flaw to be seen. It is gorgeous. Every feather is sculpted with care, and it's just amazing to look at. You can inspect it down to every little detail, and you won't find any little blank, smooth area. But overall, this is a really, really wonderful figure, and I enjoy it to no end. I think I may even like it a little better than the Archaeopteryx just because the pose and the detail is so phenomenal. Thank you for watching, and BionicleSaurus signing out.